Hello, it's Carrie. I'm back with another face-up video showing the products that I'm using. Here are some pan pastels along with a custom mix that I made there. And I used these colors of my Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle watercolor pencils. And I used many Derwent pencils in watercolor. These are a couple of vintage Derwents that I used. And this one Faber Castell watercolor pencil. And today I'm trying out these Conti, I think is how you spell it or say it, pastel pencils. I've been asked a couple times if you can use pastel pencils, and I'd never tried it, so I thought I had the perfect colors, so I thought I would give it a try. Of course, my sealers and a tweezers and an X-Acto knife. And some craft paint for the highlights. And my favorite Q-tips to blend. So starting off, I've been starting with a white base on the eyes to bring out the color a little bit better. And this one I'm noticing it's just not coming down on the vinyl very well, so I know that that's always going to be corrected, or typically will be corrected when I add another coat of sealer. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to build up the color as we go, do a couple more layers before sealing it again, and then usually it'll act a little bit better the next time. So here I'm adding the pastel pencil. So I used it for the base tint, and it went on okay. It gave it like a nice little tint. The pencil wouldn't sharpen enough or to the point that I really wanted. So I did at one point use the little paintbrush to take off the color and use a tiny paintbrush like I do with the regular pastels, and it worked okay. I kind of expected the pastel pencils to work a little bit better than they do. But they're definitely something you can use for adding color to the dolls, I think. They work pretty much like regular pastels, but they're just not as soft. But I think it did give it good color. So here I'm doing some shading and blending it out with a Q-tip. And you'll notice I do a lot of measuring using a little dotting tool to measure the size of the eyes and the pupils and so forth. There I'm adding the waterline with a reddish color pencil and just layering in the different shading on the lips. And to preserve the sealer, I'll do as many layers as I can, and then you'll start to notice that it's just after so many layers it's just not taking a lot of color. So that's when I know to go ahead and seal it again, and it gives it another tooth to be able to add more layers. And I was really enjoying working on these lips, all of the shading and everything. They didn't turn out the exact shape that I wanted because of the shape of the actual doll, but I really enjoyed working on those. Talking about the pastel pencils, I was gifted those from a very dear friend of mine whose mother was an artist, and she gave me a ton of beautiful supplies, and I'm trying to use all of them and really enjoying using them. And the pastel pencils, I definitely will try them again. I think I'd like to try more colors and maybe use them for the eye color. So I'll use them in future videos. But I can tell you, I did enjoy them. They just don't keep a sharp point like I was hoping. So I can pick up the color from them with the paintbrush and apply it that way. Or if I want to do, I think I could probably apply it directly to the eye. So I'm not sure how they'll mix with pencil. It did work pretty well here when I used the pencil afterwards on the lip. But if I use a little bit more, I'm not sure how that's going to take. So more to come. I'll try them again. So here I'm blending up different shades of brown, trying to get it a little bit darker. I think there I was using it like a brown ochre and then a copper beech brown in Derwent. And I find if I need a very sharp line, then I'll use the Faber Castell pencil because it seems to be a little bit harder than the Derwents. And then if I want the darker color, I'll use the Derwent because it's softer and will add a darker shade. So I'm applying the soft pastel for the eyebrows, and then I go back in with the watercolor pencil to give the line sort of texture. This brush here I'm really loving for adding blush. It's actually just a Wet n Wild like eyeshadow brush from the dollar store, and I'm just loving it for adding a little bit of blush because it goes on soft. It doesn't do too much at once. I always blot off some of the color onto a paper towel so I don't end up with a big blotch, and just kind of layer it in. So I did seal in between a couple of times before this point, so you can see that the whites of the eyes are showing up pretty well. I always do a little bit of shading on the ears and blend that out with a Q-tip. And I like to blush the top of the ears a little bit. Then I'm going to go in with some gloss on the eyes and the lips and add the eyelashes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye!